This height is not a big deal. We have two buildings already of this height. One of them is quite an ugly building, and the other one I think is appreciated. Secondly, these buildings will have more people in them. Well, let me go back to the first one. With taller buildings, I hope there's a chance, and I will fight for a chance to have open space and ground floor landscaping. Because with a taller building, you could actually reserve some of the land for that. In San Francisco, the tall buildings have an edict that says 10% of the ground floor area has to be in open space. I would work for 20% of the ground floor area for these tall buildings in open space. Secondly is, the buildings will have more people in them to revitalize businesses that we need to have revitalized in the downtown. More big people mean more businesses means the stores that we need to have so we don't have to drive to Emeryville. In building scale, it's already what we have. Look at the Wells Fargo building, 13 stories, and it's right next to a 2-story cute little building. Likewise, Cancun Restaurant is right next to 6 and 7 or 9-story buildings. We have an up and down scale in the downtown. It's not a uniform scale. I'd like to see us not have these big blocky buildings. Take a look at the Ace Hardware project that's coming up, by the way. Thank you.
All right, third question. Second question. This is for Jim. Your position on measures H and I, and on a related note, plans you have to keep the city running well during hard economic times.
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
What is your position on measures H and I, and plans you have to keep the city running well during hard economic times?
Well, I strongly support H&I. My kids went through the Berkeley public schools. I would support anything that increases taxes to support the schools. And I'm proud to live in a town which strongly supports schools and libraries. H is basically continuing a maintenance tax. It's not a new tax, it just simply continues the tax that's in place. And I is a new bond that basically will allow high school and elementary schools to get new classrooms, which are sorely needed. My son right now is in a Spanish class in one of the huts, which on top that's been built on top of the baseball stadium. As for keeping the city running well during these hard economic times, my main answer to that is to be a champion for our city's cultural and educational life. To be that person who can think of how to get more people organized and activities in the downtown. And I have a 4-point program. One is, I support business development in the downtown so that basically more stores and retail spaces can be developed. 2 is I want to create new pedestrian areas in the downtown, specifically along Center Street, but also in Shattuck Square and Berkeley Square. 3, I want to support a transit terminal or a bus terminal on Berkeley Square, which is the area that right now is north of the BART station. And 4 is I want to support new parking, inexpensive parking on Shattuck Square, which is the block between Addison and Center Street, University. If you want to see these things, look at my YouTube clips. I want to say that the Center Street project, which I strongly support, I've been dreaming of a downtown plaza for over 20 years, is not moving forward, contrary to what Jesse said. It's a lovely idea, but it's not moving forward because there's no funds. However, I have an idea that we could incrementally close the street off in Sundays and Saturdays of next year and get the merchants hopefully to enjoy the idea and get us to enjoy it also.
Barnes?
Well, I think the best way to shore up our schools is to create a stronger economic base so we have more money to spend on education.
Can you please adjust the microphone?
I apologize, I'm tall and so it's harder for me to get to the microphone. I think the best way to shore up our education is to have the resources to provide educational services to our students. I'm technically a public school teacher. I teach at the university. And we're having a lot of financial issues. And the question is, how do we allocate our resources to provide the best long-term education for our state and for providing the future jobs of tomorrow? High schools and other schools, it's the same thing. If we don't spend the resources that we need to spend on education, we will have a diminished workforce that are able to tackle the new technologies of tomorrow. Having said that, I have a house in the downtown, a 1901 house, and I pay taxes. And I want to make sure that when I pay my taxes, that they get utilized in an efficient manner, that they get used for providing education to our students, and not for things that I, as a person, wouldn't spend money on, much less spend somebody else's money on. And so I think the real issue, the way we can really shore up our educational system, is to create a stronger, vital economic base where we get more tax revenue, also where we provide a desirable place for people to live, that they want to come here, and it attracts the people that really have a heart for providing an educational system for the community. Thank you.
Well, I joined a unanimous City Council in support of both measures H and I, not only to improve the safety of our school facilities, but to expand school facilities. Not only to create more classroom space, but one of the things that I'm excited about, which we've done at Washington, the school district has done at Washington School, is actually solarizing Washington School. And Measure I includes funding to actually encourage the solarization of school buildings, which is something I want to make happen as a City Council member for our city buildings, such as City Hall and many other city buildings as well. We need to move forward in investing in renewable sources of energy to try to address greenhouse gas emissions and to actually reduce our carbon footprint. And there are things we can do to address that. Just briefly on the issue of Center Street, I just want to address this because Mr. Novosel talked about this. It had been a vision for many years until eco-city builders had come to me and members of the City Council said, let's move forward and actually approve a plan for how the street should be developed. We did that thanks to my leadership, and I'm working with eco-city builders to get the funding to make the plaza a reality. Obviously, it needs to be done in phases so that the first phase happens tied with the Art Museum project, and the second phase of the development is contingent on what happens with the corner of Shattuck and Center Street with the Bank of America site. It needs to happen in an incremental way, but when it does happen, I think it really will create a destination downtown that the BART Plaza does not provide. During my time on the City Council, we weathered the storm during difficult budget times. We've had to grapple with multi-million-dollar deficits. But my experience being a council member, analyzing the city budget and proposing solutions to try to balance our budget, I think gives me the best preparation to be able to be a responsible advocate for District 4, making sure that we get our share of city services during these difficult budget times, and to make sure that our city budget is being run in a responsible and fiscally solvent way. I'm a strong advocate for fiscal responsibility, for improving the efficiency of city services, and I will continue to do so if I'm elected as your representative. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, what are your plans for improving safety and combating crime in the district? I believe Jesse's first.
This is a very important question because during difficult economic times, we have seen an increase in crime in our neighborhoods, not just in the downtown, but in our neighborhoods, particularly west of Martin Luther King. I'm aware of multiple incidents of robberies and assaults that have happened, particularly in the Channing and McGee area. I'm sure this is an issue throughout the entire district. There are things that we can do to address this. First, I believe that we need to expand our community policing efforts to get the police on the streets in the community, working with neighbors to try to identify problems with crime and prevent crime from happening. I'm a strong supporter for actually increasing services to create more neighborhood watch programs throughout District 4 so we can improve that police-neighbor collaboration. Additionally, one of the things I've worked with the campus community is organizing safety walkthroughs, working with students to actually identify barriers to physical safety, and working expeditiously to fix issues like light bulbs that are out, or overgrown brush, or broken sidewalks to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe. I think safety is multifaceted though. It's not just robberies and assaults and crime, it's also pedestrian safety and bicycle safety. And District 4 and Berkeley has one of the highest incidents of pedestrian accidents. There's more that we can do as a city to try to improve the pedestrian safety of our neighborhoods. Some of this I'm already doing, such as trying to calm traffic on Alston Way, and working with neighbors to try to calm traffic on Sacramento Street and Dwight Way. There's more that we can do to try to make our neighborhoods safer. And so I want to be a strong advocate for not only community policing and police community collaboration, to prevent crime from happening, but to also to improve bicycle safety and improve pedestrian safety, so we have safe neighborhoods and we have a safe downtown.
Oh, sorry, yes.
So there are two issues here. One is improving pedestrian and bicycle safety, and the other is combating crime. On the first one, we have to work on traffic, bike, and pedestrian safety for sure. More work is needed to calm traffic, to make our streets safe, and to reclaim them for our kids who want to play in them, and for the pedestrians who want to walk in them. I've seen too many bicycle accidents. I don't even work at home. I work elsewhere, and I see bicycle accidents. More and more people are biking to work. I bike 2 miles to my office in South Berkeley. And it's an enjoyable ride, by the way. I believe we have to adjust stop sign and street lights so that we can contain the traffic on the outskirts of our neighborhood and not get it into the neighborhood. McGee Street, for instance, is a throughway. And we have to review the traffic circles. I think they are a problem in causing some of the bicycle accidents. Basically, they're too wide. The ones that are being built now west of Sacramento are much narrower, but the ones that they built along Alston are too wide, and so you can see that, you can just see, look at the tire marks on the traffic circles, and you can see what's happening. But I'm also proud to say that any group of residents that want to create an island or a circle, I will support them, because I have helped do the California Island down there in Dwight and California Street, and it's the most successful island, I think, in the city. It's a big 2,000 square foot island. It really is great. On combating crime, I know that there's petty theft, some of it caused by high school students, but by and large, it's probably better than most neighborhoods. I think the real key is we cannot rely on the police. We have to rely on neighborhood watches. We have to rely on neighborhoods getting together, knowing each other, and basically getting emergency phone numbers and all that. You've got to know your neighbors. Thank you.
The police work really hard to protect us, but that's not, I'm sorry. The police work really hard to protect us, but that's not all. We need to work together as a community. I was part of a neighborhood watch group. We need to be able to share information. We can do it through the internet. But there's also technology things that we can do that don't cost very much money, but will have a big, profound effect. There's software you can put in your laptop that basically, when it gets stolen, it will find out where it is with the IP address, and you can even have it take a picture of the person who's using it. It can't be activated without your permission. There's secure codes. And then when it gets stolen, you find out, who took it? The police come and get them. That reputation comes around, people stop stealing laptops. With bicycles, there's these little sensors you can put in your bicycle. You can find out who the rings are that are stealing our bicycles, that are making us apprehensive from riding our bikes and driving instead. And I think that's one way we can reduce congestion. As a term for city safety, I know not everybody here has a smartphone, but a lot of your kids or neighbors have smartphones, and they can report things. They can say, there's that pothole or that thing that's caused my bicycle tire to break, and report it to the city. And then in aggregate, we have these what we call scatter plots. We see where the real problems are, and the city can say, there's a real problem there. A lot of citizens have complained. A lot of people are apprehensive to call, and you have to know the right person. But if you have a community bulletin board where you can share information. Also, I think it's very important that crime statistics get posted in a place where everybody can see them. Over a dozen years ago, I had an internet company, and a guy named Jerry Brown used to come in, and besides, I think it was the only internet company that he invested in. But then shortly thereafter, he put crime statistics in Oakland on the internet. He was the first to do it. It was a very bold move. But today, a lot of cities across the country do that, and it gets a lot of citizen engagement. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to work hand in hand and know the information of where the things that are happening and take action on it. Thank you.
Okay. So the next section is we're going to read some of the questions.